What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. This is actually my second video for today. The other one I recorded yesterday, but dropped it this morning on the CEO that lost his life in Mexico, CEO of NOR, Northern Organized Records, homeboy out of northern out of Sacramento, but he's been in Mexico for a long time. Been deported a few times. Anyways, I know some other folks have done some content about that. When I had recorded it, Gunner was the only one that had done the video. And then I dropped mine this morning, but I had noticed that Renegade Media also did a video about it. Cool content. I think mine's a little different. Comes from a little bit of a different angle, right? So I suggest you guys check it out. I suggest check out all three, right? Check out everything. Uh, but I'm kind of aware of some things with that situation. Did a little bit of homework. And I talked about other stuff. Like I've been in Mexico with the Northerners, a few years back, and so kind of tied that in. And if you look at the comments, there's a handful of folks from Mexico in the comments, kind of uh, acknowledging the video, and that always feels good, right? To do videos about other places that you're not super familiar with. It's not your backyard. But to talk about stuff going on in other countries, I remember I got some older videos I did about El Salvador, the 503 program, and Mara, and I tend to talk about those groups from a Central American perspective, not so much the American perspective, because that's more of my experiences, like doing the legal work and immigration work for a lot of those childhood rivals and stuff, years back. I learned a lot about how things work in the Northern Triangle, right? Central America. Uh, so that's kind of more what I speak to, and it was cool to see the comments in those videos of a lot of people from El Salvador, from Honduras, from Nicaragua, like acknowledging, damn fool, like this is legit stuff. So anyways, like I said, man, if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. I'll link to it in this one, or in the upper corner of this one. But this video is because I said I would do it, right? And and I said it without knowing what the video was gonna be. What I mean is this: people have been coming in the comments on my lives and some of my videos too, I think, but in particular lives. And I've gotten some DMs saying, "Hey, looked up Flaco in the system, right? William Vick looked up Flaco in the system, and he doesn't have as much time as you said he had. There's more to the story, whatever the case may be." I had not looked him up again. Right? You guys have followed the channel. No, I haven't really been feeling good. I haven't been doing a whole lot. Uh, so I hadn't looked him up to see for myself. But last night on my live, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look it up, and whatever it says, I'm gonna do a video today about it, and I'm gonna address it. And I'll be honest, I was a little concerned because when I did the video saying that he got 15 years, it's not off paperwork that I saw. And I said that at the time. Hey, this is kind of the word on the curb. This is how I think it played out. Right? I know he pled guilty to these four charges. Two related to the shooting, two related to drugs. I know he pled guilty to those four. I think the way it played out is he got 7.5 for each of the shooting cases. They ran those consecutive, right? One after the other. So that's 15 years. You add them up. And then they gave him 5 probably for each of the drug charges, which creates 10, but ran that 10 concurrent with that 15, right? So it still is only 15 years because they're doing that 10 at the same time. And that was my suspicion, but I put it out there. And so then I started thinking, like, people kind of got in my head. And I was like, man, did this fool lie to me? Not, I haven't talked to him directly, but like, was there a campaign? Was there some misrepresentation, whether intentional or not, that then I went ahead and jumped on to do content? And other channels made content based on the video that I made, right? Which is dope. It's great. I'm not saying that as it just is what it is, right? Uh, but I've earned a little bit of credibility in this genre, I think. And not because I'm perfect, not because I always get it right or I'm smarter than everybody or anything else that people who don't care for me say. But I just do my homework and I tend to be careful when I speak about factual things. Um and make sure I have the facts. And I jumped ahead a little bit with the video about Flaco getting the 15 years because it made sense and I believed it. And but the information wasn't available online to absolutely verify. But I was like, it makes sense though, right? Um, and so I was like, damn, am I gonna have to come on here and apologize? Am I gonna have to come on here and be like, sorry, I jumped the gun? Because if I did, that'd be 100% on me, regardless where I got the information or how much I said, hey, this is my understanding. I don't play that whole, well, if I didn't say these special words, and that doesn't mean I'm really standing behind what I said type thing. I don't do that. If I say it, I say it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'd have been upset, right? I'd have been upset. I was starting to get upset just at the thought that I could be. And disappointed because then I would have to apologize to those who made videos and believed what I said and was wrong. Thankfully, that's not what happened. Uh he got 15 years, huh? Right? It's looking at this, and there's a little bit more. I'll scroll down in a second, but he got what he said he got. Now I know that he had said, he could take some classes or whatever and get that knocked down even further. I don't know about that. I don't. I would assume that he's more well versed in the Arizona Department of Corrections than I am, right? I haven't really put any energy to looking into it because, to be honest, I don't care. I'm not locked up there. It really doesn't matter to me. It's not that interesting. So I'll take him at his word because why not, right? What does it matter one way or the other? And if that's the case, hopefully he does come home, right? I hope everybody without weird charges against children and shit and beating up women and stuff. I hope they all get to come home, and I hope they learn their lesson and they come home and stay home, and so I wish the same for him. You know, we had a friendship once upon a time. Things are different. Things change. That's a whole nother story. Um, but I still, he's a human being, man. He's a father, and hopefully this little timeout, does him some good, right? But his projected release date is 2037. It's what, like 12 years. That makes sense. If you got 15 years with 85%, you factor in he's been sitting in the county for a minute, time served, and so it makes sense, right? But I said I would do the video. But I was like, I'm gonna do this video tomorrow. So here's today that I'm doing the damn video. And I'm thankful that I don't have to backpedal, right? That's a good thing. So let's look at what this says. It says here. Look at what it says. He is in the Arizona Department of Corrections, right? So William Vick, middle initial H, that's for Hunter, William Hunter Vick. He is a male. He is 6'5". He is 270 pounds. He has brown hair, blue eyes, Caucasian dude. So Flaco, I've said before, and I know I've heard Gunner say this, other people have said this. Flaco's a big dude, right? That's a big old tall oak tree looking guy, right? Which is crazy because at 19, 20 years old in the California Department of Corrections, he wasn't built like that. He was still 6'5". He might have been 6'6" back then. Maybe he shrunk. He was a tall ass dude, but he was skinnier than I was at the time, right? And I was a little heavier than I am now. This is before a lot of the surgeries, before any of the surgeries, all that stuff, right? So, I definitely have a harder time gaining weight now than I did back then. I was skinny then too, but he was even skinnier than I was. Like he's 270 now. That fool wasn't 150, in Solano in 1997, right? So, uh, but I mean that's what happens. You get older, right? Metabolism changes. Something I don't know. I don't know how it happened. That's a dramatic change. I don't know. Something changed. But it's a big old fucking dude, right? And that matters, right? Doesn't mean you're untouchable. Doesn't mean you're invincible. Doesn't mean nobody's gonna step to you. Uh, but it does mean that some people, opportunistic people, people that ain't really passionate, but maybe see you as an easy mark, might second guess, be like, I don't know, that kind of big dude. Anyways, his custody classification level is medium lowest. The way I understand it, and you guys let me know that have done time in Arizona if I'm wrong, but the way I understand that is kind of similar to like what a level 2 is in California, right? You're not a level 1. You're still behind a fence, behind a wall. You don't get to go pick up trash on the side of the road or do that kind of stuff, right? You got to stay within the prison, and it is some controlled movement, right? But there's also some kind of free movement. You have some freedom to kind of wiggle a little bit without being under escort all the time. And the higher security levels, your opportunities to do that are reduced, right? Up until the point of you ain't going anywhere unless you're shackled. So pretty low classification level, which makes sense. The dude ain't been in trouble in a really long time. On paper, right? We know what he was arrested for, all those crazy charges, like 100 and some odd years. We did the math the other day. Um, from my old reaction channel video when he first, got popped in Stadium County. And then he had 11 charges, right? 11 felonies. He'd probably be a different classification level if he got convicted of all those. He'd also be doing a hell of a lot more time. But on paper, he's got a couple assaults and a couple dope cases. Right, it's not the end of the world. Admission date January 28th, so that's when he went from the county jail to the Arizona Department of Corrections. Like I said, release date 2037. He's in Phoenix, Alhambra. I think the IM workers, I'm guessing it's like inmate workers, but Alhambra is the reception center of the Arizona State Prison Complex, I think they call it. And so, my understanding, time in the reception center in Arizona is generally shorter than what it's been in the past in California, which makes sense, right? They got far less prisons, a much smaller prison population, kind of a less complicated prison population. California's kind of making things about as complicated as possible. But also not really caring and putting fucking people anywhere. So I don't know. But you don't stay in reception center in Arizona too long. Just like you don't sit in the county too long after your sentence, right? They come pick people up a couple times a week, and when you're sentenced, you're ready to go. So I don't think he'll be there for very long. Last movement was January 30th. My understanding, that just means he came out of his cell today, right? That's today. He came out, so he went somewhere, did something. Makes sense though, right? Because you got to go the doctors, you got to do all the same kind of stuff. Right? You got to go to the doctors, mental health evaluation, and figure out, classification. You got any safety concerns? What kind of dude are you? Where we gonna put you at? I still tend to think that he's gonna be okay. I know there's some folks that are rooting for him to have a miserable experience in prison, and there's some people that kind of harp on his past misdeeds, which are significant misdeeds, right? I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. And think that's gonna come back to haunt him, and it might, right? It might. But I don't know. I just don't tend to think he's gonna have too difficult of a time, and I hope for his family's sake he doesn't. But so he's there. He'll be moving at some point soon. Arizona actually gives you a lot of information about people that are incarcerated. Much more than California will give you without you having to jump through hella hoops. So there it is, 7.5 years sentence length for the aggravated assault, and then another aggravated assault case, same thing, 7.5 years. 5 for the narcotic drug violation, and 5 for the narcotic drug violation. Three separate incidences. Right, June 9th is when the shooting at the house happened. Then he apparently got picked up or had some dope case like a week later. And then another one, you know, 2 weeks later. And so that's it. He was sentenced on January 17th. Um, so here he is, less than 2 weeks, and he's already, in reception center. Uh, he might wind up. I mean, I think he'll be in prison. You know, he'll be out of reception center for sure. Um, early February, right? Like probably in the next week or two. But we'll see. No disciplinary infractions. That's good. He ain't got in trouble yet, right? And that's all, right? And so again, active classification, initial, medium custody risk, lowest internal risk. So they're not looking at him like he's a problem. They don't think he's gonna be a real issue. I don't think he's gonna want issues in there. I don't think he's gonna be pushing any lines. That would be kind of silly, right? So hopefully he gets to take his little classes and do his thing and get his head right. I don't know if he's gonna be able to still keep doing the YouTube stuff. I'll be honest, I don't really, follow along with his channel. He's doing his own thing, man, and more power to him for that. So, anyways, I gave it to you straight. And I was accurate in the stuff that I told you. For those suggesting otherwise, no. It is what it is, right? And there you have it. Here's my second video for today. Go check out the one from earlier though, man. And I also did one about funny removal, right? It's funniest shit I seen in prison. That also happened in Solano. And so been dropping content lately, only like one a day. not 2 days. Today's the first time I've done two since earlier this month. But we're gonna keep on pushing, man. You guys let me know in the comments what else you want to hear about, what else you want to see, and I'll do my best to make it happen. Help us move with excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you, and we'll catch up again soon, man. Take care.